Welcome to the show. You're listening to Dime to Diamonds. We appreciate you joining us here today. My name is Jessica. I am, of course, joined by Suzanne Porsky of Phoenix Financial Group and Rochelle Harp of Harp CPA. That phone number, 918-890-8311. 918-890-8311. That website, dimetodiamondsradio.com. Suzanne, Rochelle, welcome. How you doing?
Doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Glad to be back here with you. It's exciting. I talked to you a couple times during the week, usually, and both of you guys are saying just how busy you are. Lots of folks calling in from the show, which is, of course, we love that. We love hearing from you guys and meeting you in person as well. So glad to be here with you.
Absolutely fantastic. It's a great day in the studio and happy to be here and share some information.
Yes. Education's empowerment.
There we go.
That's what we say.
That's what we say. So let's jump right into it. Let's educate our listeners today. For instance, here, our Social Security, if you can believe it, has a big problem. And it starts with the current birth rate in the United States. Here's TikTok's news girl. Her name is Lisa Remillard. She explains.
At the end of July, the Centers for Disease Control said, as of 2024, the fertility rate in this country dropped to an all-time low. Less than 1.6 kids per woman ages 15 to 44. The rate needed for a population to replace itself from one generation to the next is 2.1 kids per woman. The fact is, when you're not hitting that replacement rate and there are fewer babies, in the end, you end up with a country with a larger proportion of older people and a smaller proportion of younger, healthier people who are able to work.
Interesting. Well, if that trend continues, fewer workers could be paying into the system, putting more pressure on Social Security. So someone who's 5, maybe 10 years away from retirement, how much faith should they really put into that monthly check? I mean, not to mention, we've heard rumors that it's going to be depleted or what have you in 2035. I think I recently heard 2032. So what should we be doing now to help boost our own income? Suzanne?
Well, I think those assumptions might be a little bit misleading. I don't know. Social Security trustees are using more optimistic fertility projections than the Census Bureau and the Congressional Budget Office. So those agencies expect birth rates to stay lower. Yes, I agree. And it could make the system's finances worse than currently projected. I'm really hoping that with anything, there is that give and take, that ebb and flow, that there is going to be an uptick in another area, that people are going to maybe start thinking about saving more. We watched pensions go away, Jess. We started making that transition. So people started, as they inherited money, started to now create their own pensions through annuities and other investment vehicles. So maybe that's what they'll do. As this information is being put out there, we have the misskewed numbers. We had those baby boomers. And so it's like when the housing market, those houses in the neighborhood sell for a large amount, it kind of throws off the rest of the numbers for quite a while, for decades. I think it's the same thing with, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And I think it's one of those. Social Security shouldn't be the one income source that you're relying on in retirement. I think it's one of those, there really should be other incomes. And I think you have a great point going back to pensions used to be all that there was for people. And now it's transitioned away from that, from a risk standpoint and different things on that model. So I think this is an opportunity where people are hearing these headlines and should be taking that information in and trying to figure out, well, how can I help mitigate my risk? And I think that's where you and I can come in to play.
Right. And then the statistics are there's 34 trillion that's in the process right now. Not going to happen. It's actually in the process of transitioning from men to women. And women, we solve puzzles and we're not linear. We're not just worried. Usually the male typically is worried about the spouse. That's it. The spouse is then worried about the kids and grandkids and the school and the fur babies and all that. When I ask a man, what's the plan for the fur babies if something was to happen, they just look like I just have a third eye that just popped out. I asked the women and she's like, oh my goodness, this is what I would like to happen if, I pass away early or whatever. That's what's happening with the money. So when I get somebody in here that says, okay, I want to set up pension plans, and I say that in a relative way, that's just kind of how they categorize it, but make sure that they have retirement assets that they can count on. So I think just that's where that's going to go, is that people are going to start taking it more in their own hands, which is that really a bad thing?
I think it's a great thing. I think you and I both can probably attest to, I would much rather be more in control and be the one deciding my future than allowing somebody else to make those decisions.
I have a lot of people that say, goodness, if we would have had that control of our Social Security back when I started putting into it in my high school years or teenage years, if I had the education and knew what to do, I would be so much better off than I am right now with my Social Security amount that I'm getting, with all the different taxations and all of the limitations and exclusions. I could be in a better place. So I think that's what I see, but I'm on the hopeful side of humanity, that we can figure it out.
The problems get solved.
And I do. I think that the gap could be larger than expected. The fertility continues to follow the lower projections. I really do. But that 75-year shortfall could reach at least 30 trillion. I think we have plenty of opportunity. I believe in the human race that we will get it figured out. You know, build the income that you can control, that you don't have all this stuff. I mean, the government got in there and said, okay, let's change the retirement. Let's not just say at this age you're going to get it. Let's go ahead and say you can get it at 62, but it's at 75% of your primary insurance amount until we tell you you're at your full retirement age, which that keeps bumping up.
Well, and then it also goes that a lot of people aren't aware that they're can only make a certain amount before their full retirement age.
Even yesterday, in talking to that person, you and I, her husband passed away unexpectedly, so she was going to take her widow's benefits. And she said, this will really help, this extra $2,000 a month. And I said, you're working, right? And she said, yes, but this is going to replace him. And I said, well, you're only allowed to make $24,000 a year, and you're going to be making that with your widow's benefit. Yeah. And she needed a minimum of $3,000 a month just to pay the house. And so we did the fuzzy math on it and said, okay, you're not really getting that because you're not at your full retirement age. If you're not at your full retirement age, they're going to take a percentage of that you can't make. For every $2 you're over their income limit, they're going to take $1. So that $2,000, you're really getting $1,000. So really, is it worth it? If this is you and you have got those questions about FRA and about, PIA, primary insurance amount, and full retirement age, and taxation on Social Security, any of that, please pick up the phone, give us a call, either set up a phone appointment or an in-person appointment. All of it's free. Come in, let's talk. Let me help answer those questions. And if I can't, Rochelle does, or we figure it out together, huh?
That's right, always.
There you go. When you talk about a FRA and PIA, and I know people are going, what, ABC 1, 2, 3, what the heck is going on here? Well, listen, it is simple and easy to get into this conversation and better understand it. It's kind of like the ABCs of planning for retirement, if you will, including things like income, taxes, Social Security, cost of health care. You'll go over all those details when you sit down with Suzanne one-on-one. This financial needs analysis, it's complimentary to our listeners. 918-890-8311. That's 918-890-8311. That website, dimetodiamondsradio.com. I'm sure you guys have heard about Bruce Willis. He was diagnosed with dementia about 3 years ago. His wife, Emma, she had been caring for him day in, day out. And recently the family came to her and said, listen, we're concerned about you and your well-being, right? This has become too much. So now Bruce is staying at a memory care facility. And, she's received lots of criticism from the public about that. Some people might even look at the cost of long-term care and say, oh, my gosh, there's no way I could afford this. Bruce Willis, yeah, he's taken care of, but what about me? And, putting someone like that, your family, taking care of them, it comes at a high cost. So how can you help?
Oh, my goodness. We just had somebody we talked to yesterday. The issue affects nearly every family eventually. And the reality is long-term care isn't a financial decision, Jess, all the time. It's an emotional decision. It's a family decision. It's a quality of life decision. And this listener that we were talking to that came in, she has a aging parents, but an aging mother, and the family has asked that she quit her job and bring mom home from the institution and take care of her to give her better longevity. And mom has got memory, it's dementia. And so we just started talking. I said, hold on, is this a cultural? Because financially we can run all those numbers. That part's going to work itself out. But what about you as a caregiver? And she said, I did it for 2 weeks and lost 10 pounds and I'm exhausted. And I've told you my story of my husband with his stroke. It did. When people are like, I'm worried about you, I'm like, gosh, I am literally the last thing I'm thinking about. But I knew my body was shutting down. I could feel it because you're not getting that good sleep because You're concerned. You've got this job you've never had before, and you have expectations that you don't even know what to expect. You don't know what's around the corner. So it's the mental, the physical, all of that. So people that say my family will take care of me, the better question is, should they have to? And then are you financially ready for it?
Yeah, well, and I think it goes back to just focusing a little bit more. She's getting criticism for making this decision, but the reality is other people around her were noticing that her health was declining as well. And I would anticipate that if you talk to you as a mother, you wouldn't want your child to take care of you if it was detrimental to their health.
Right.
But I think that's a hard flip for people to understand and to see that, if you have never taken care of somebody 24/7, or you haven't dealt with the episodes that occur when people wake up and they don't know where they're at, or those different types of things, not only the physical, but the mental and the emotional damage that it can do on an individual. And if they're living in that 24/7, is that really healthy for either group?
But it's the mental, because you can't just say when people go, this is really wearing on you. Yeah, physically, you should be in my head right now.
Right. 100%.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And that's why I tell people life is mental. That's definitely it. So it's not just always the financial part of it. It is the mental part of it. And that giving him a break, when people would ask me during his recovery, hey, let me take you to dinner. That's not going to help me because I can't have him out of my sight. But would you have something delivered? Absolutely. And even you in Clayton sent that DoorDash. I bawled. I mean, I could afford DoorDash. I didn't even think about DoorDashing anything. It was a treat for me because it was a gift from you. And that's where I'm like, hey, I just ordered dinner for me because my diet was different than his for a while with, eating and stuff like that. So those are the things, that we have. And Jess, that's where we're different. We have had all these life experiences. 40 years ago, I was talking about people having proper life insurance for their children and making sure that everything was taken care of if something happened to one of the parents and the kids are young. That's evolved over all these decades. And now that I'm on this side of it, I've had somebody have a significant health event. I've had people unexpectedly pass away in my life. I come with all that knowledge and say, hey, just letting you know, this is what's out there and this is what's being experienced. On top of the thousands of clients that we've been blessed with.
100%. Well, and then the other thing, when we get back to kind of the financial burden of what it might look like. So for memory care, for facilities, you're looking between $7,000 to $10,000 monthly. Assisted living's more around the $7,000, and then a nursing home could be up to $12,000, just depending on what level they're at. And so I think this is one of those opportunities where people don't know that certain products, certain vehicles have this backside to it that can help cover this risk if they were to need to pay for that.
Right. They have hybrid bells and whistles is what I kind of call it. You have investment vehicles that have that, and that's what, thank God, happened for us. We had a portion. I took a portion of money, turned it into a pension. That $3,000 a month. If you can't do 2 out of the 6 activities of daily living, ADLs, they double that. You can get it monthly or you can just get the annual because they'll do that up to 5 years. And that's what happened. That was a game changer in my husband's health care, is to say, I'm pulling him out of the insurance, that nightmare. You're telling me I have to do certain things, and we are going cash pay. I'm going to find a facility that I can dictate the kind of care I want him to have, which is close to my house, which is close to my business. Then after that, I'm going to hire somebody to come in and work with both of us to, reacclimate him and us to life. That's the game changer. And that's what we do for people. And I don't know, if I'm being honest, Rochelle, I don't know I would have had that same level that I have right now by not going through it. I can literally tell people, hey, budget for a wheelchair,
right?
Budget for a walker, budget for a cane, budget for the stuff that has to go on the toilet, the bidet, because they may be able to crank and wash, but they can't wipe.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the things you just don't even know until you know. And then having the therapist at the house say, hey, he can easily roll out of this bed without knowing it. You've got to get this in the bed for him. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah. All those things, and removing all the rugs out of the house and just different things. So yes, if you're listening to this and you've had somebody in your family or you know somebody and you want to talk about what that long-term care looks like for you, how you want it to play out. And I've had these conversations. I had this with my daughter yesterday. I said, hey, I am telling you right now, get mental and understand. I'm telling you, if I don't know where I'm at and what I'm doing, you don't worry about it. You live your life. do not hold the mental and emotional burden that you have to take care of me as long as this meat suit's pumping.
Right.
You know, I'm checked out. Let it go. Just let it go. Live your life, because I see what it's doing to some of these people, and it is aging them. They are taking care of the parent that they had 10 years ago, 20 years ago. They're not taking care of somebody that is abusive, mentally just not there. So we have those conversations, Jess, and so if this is you and you're listening, we would love to have you in. We don't always talk about depressing things. I'm going to talk to you about all the fun things you're doing in life too, but I do want to have those. I don't think that's something that we all talk about. Right. I mean, who sits around the table or whatever and says, hey, what do you want long-term to look like? Your care. And
you and me, but most people don't have those hard conversations. And so it does present an opportunity for people that if you feel that you want to have that hard conversation, but you don't know how to get it started, we're a great sounding board for that.
Yes. Yeah, we'll make it happen for you folks. Really simple. That phone number, 918-890-8311. 918-890-8311. That website, dimetodiamondsradio.com. Stay with us. So much more coming up right here with Suzanne and Rochelle. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Willie's Wings, home of the secret sauce.
I'll take a dozen wings. Oh, by the way, I love that sauce. What's in it?
Can't tell you.
Why not?
It's a secret.
While many financial advisors claim to have the secret sauce, they don't. In fact, if their sauce is so good, why are they keeping it a secret? Suzanne Porsky of Phoenix Financial Group doesn't keep anything a secret. She knows there's much more to retirement planning than stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. She'll develop a strategy designed specifically for you. It's your own secret sauce for retirement. Call Suzanne Porsky at Phoenix Financial Group for your personal portfolio x-ray. Call 918-890-8311. That's 918-890-8311. Or online at dimetodiamondsradio.com.
Fine, you want to know what's in the sauce?
Absolutely.
Tablespoon of paprika.
Really?
Welcome back to the show. This is Dime to Diamonds with Suzanne Porsky of Phoenix Financial Group and, of course, Rochelle Harp of Harp CPA. Most importantly, folks, we love hearing from you. What topics are keeping you up at night? What's something you enjoyed hearing about on the show or that even you learned about on the show? That phone number, 918-890-8311. Get more details about Suzanne and the team at dimetodiamondsradio.com. Contributing to a Roth IRA, well, it has its limits. For instance, at age 50 and older, you're only allowed to contribute up to $8,600. Yes, that includes that catch-up. But if you make too much, I'm talking about $168,000 for singles, $252,000 if you are married, you are just shut out completely. All is not lost, okay? Stick with me. Wealth planner Tim Steffen tells Morningstar there's still an option called a backdoor Roth.
If you're not able to contribute because your income's too high and you don't have any IRA dollars to convert, the backdoor is a way to do that. So you put money into the traditional IRA and then wait some period of time, sometimes a day, sometimes longer, depending on what people want to do. And then you convert that to a Roth IRA. So backdoor Roth isn't really a thing. It's really just a traditional contribution followed by a conversion, which anybody can do that. That's a perfectly legitimate strategy.
Okay, so listen, when I'm hearing this, I say, okay, I mean, it sounds pretty straightforward, but I'm thinking this could really go the wrong way, especially if someone's doing like a DIY on a back Roth. I mean, talk to me about this. What do you think?
Yeah, that strategy is a fantastic one, and it sounds really simple on social media. However, details matter. And I've seen and heard people, backdoor Roth on podcasts, it's just moving money from one account to the other. And, there's some IRS rules and there's some surprise taxes that can fall out of that if people aren't doing the administrative and documentation properly. And that's always a big factor in everything that we do from our side, I'm sure as well from your side, is documentation.
Okay, I'm going to take a time out and go back on the Roth. So he was talking about, and you had mentioned about the limitations, but this is a big shout out to one of my favorite clients, Dane, who asked us about his Roth contributions through his employer. So can you expand on that, Rochelle?
Yeah. So when you're employed and going through your employer, the Roth limitations are not there. So you're able to go and contribute more. However, when you're talking these specific ones, you still have that limitation.
Right.
But when you're going through your employer, there is an exception.
What we're saying is if you have that option available through your 401k, through your employer, you have a Roth option. There is not the income limits. I'm going to repeat that again. There is not the income limits that there is when you're outside of your employer putting into a Roth. So I wanted to make that clear. We know that as financial consultants, financial professionals, that is something that is not talked about out there, and it's also a missed opportunity. So if you are over that income threshold that they have, you can do that through your employer if they offer it. Also, there's backdoor Roths. You can't get into that money for 5 years when you do that unless you're over the age of 65. Mm-hmm. Then that 5-year limitation is removed. And so, yes, Roths, like everything, every vehicle, it's got its specialties. It's just not that simple, Jess. And that's what we try to tell people. When you see this stuff on social media, that's when people will reach out and I'm like, they're partially correct.
It's always good to listen to different strategies and to say, hey, maybe I need to ask the question about that. But you definitely need to make sure that you're talking to someone who has a significant amount of experience in that to be able to help guide you through all the nuances. Because the other part of that is, there's a pro rata rule. So if you have any other asset accounts that fall into this category, they consider that part of that total. And so it can limit what you're able to do in that side of things. And that's just not discussed in those little snippets. There's not the time for it, but you definitely have to reach out and see if the strategy works for you. And we've talked about that many times, that everything can be a good strategy, but not every strategy fits.
So I love when people reach out and say, hey, I heard this. Would this work for me? Because then, like Dane, he reached out and said, hey, did I understand this correctly? And I go, absolutely. I'm glad you presented that question. Yes, you can participate in that 401k Roth, and there is not income limits. Thanks for asking, and that works perfect in your plan. Now, other people that come in and say, hey, I want to take in my 401k from my prior employer and I want to do a backdoor Roth. So they're going to hit the income. They're going to get all the taxes on it. So now they've got a smaller purchasing power going into an IRA, which is okay if there's a bonus maybe attached to that new product and it's going to make up and it's going to build it back up. Yes, then that's good. But like we've said, Jess, everybody is different. It's like a snowflake. I've never seen two the same. I've never seen two completely identical plans coming in for retirement.
No, and it's never going to. I mean, everybody has different buckets. Everybody has different goals. And that's one of the conversations that we have from the very beginning with people is, what is your ultimate goal? What does retirement look like that's going to make you happy? And then we back into which strategies work well for that, as well as are the most efficient way to get there.
It's having a plan in place, at least etched out, and then keeping on that plan until things change. And part of that plan is developed through that customized financial needs analysis. And we have some pretty funny stories. I don't think I even got to share this with you, Rochelle. I have a guy that he took everything out of 401ks, did the Roth, realized that purchasing power now is so much lower. So he decided he wants to move to the Philippines when he retires. And he was asking me ways that he wouldn't have to pay the taxes here to do all of his stuff, to take it over to the Philippines for retirement. But he's having to move out of the country to make his money work more for him. And I was like, we need to talk. If that's going to make your soul sing and you want to go to a foreign country for the rest of your life, only solely based off of money, there might be some other solutions. So let's have you in. Let's do a needs analysis. Let's talk. Let's have the conversations. Have you vacationed in the Philippines? I mean, just asking for a friend. He hadn't. He said no, but he did a lot of homework. He's been on YouTube. And I said, well, let's just get an appointment. Let's continue this conversation. Nothing is crazy. I mean, if that's what's going to light you up, then let's do it. If let's get that etched out, what that looks like, and then go from there. So, yeah, Roths have their place, and they're part of our custom financial needs analysis that we do for our clients. Absolutely, it's just everything in balance and everything with a plan.
And taking that first step to get that balance and that plan. Give Suzanne and the team a call today for your very own custom financial needs analysis. Again, that phone number, 918-890-8311, 918-890-8311. Again, more details on that website, day or night. Check it out at dimetodiamondsradio.com. You know, for decades, McDonald's let you serve yourself. I mean, the refills included. At least that was inside with the soda fountains. But that's all coming to an end here. McDonald's is phasing out its self-serve soda machines across the U.S. They'll be completely gone by 2032. And if you're wondering why, well, the cleanup is just a headache. But really, it's because customer behavior has changed. Fewer people are eating inside, more order to go, and there's tons of folks through that drive-through. So things have evolved, is the bottom line. And it really speaks to something that we've seen a lot in retirement planning. You know, sometimes the plan wasn't wrong. Life just ended up looking a little bit different than people expected. So what happens when life changes? Things happen. How do you recalibrate the plan?
Well, you know, I think there's only one thing that's constant in life, and that is change. And so I encourage people to start embracing change a little bit more and not be so reserved and fearful of it, because it's always going to be a factor of that. But I love the McDonald's example because McDonald's has been around forever and everybody knows the golden arches. And they have great strategic marketing. I mean, who puts the golden arches up that high where every kid can see it from the seat, even though they can't see out the window? I'm telling you, somebody really thought that through. But yeah, no, I love that because everything in our lives are always changing, whether that's our spending. When we get older, our spending may change. Our health changes and our family dynamics change. And those are all factors that need to be considered when you're trying to plan your retirement. And your retirement plan needs to be adaptable. Everything needs to be adaptable.
I actually think one of the biggest mistakes people make is believing retirement planning is supposed to stay static, because it doesn't. Life changes, families change, health changes, like you said, priorities change, and the plan should also evolve. A good retirement plan is not built to be rigid. It's built to be adaptable. And I've said this often, people don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan. But you can't do and go places you've never been without getting some direction. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where you and I are real relatable. We're like, come in, let's have these conversations. It's never to scare anybody. It's always just to educate, because then you're empowered when those things do happen. Retirement's not a one-time event. It's a living season of life that needs ongoing guidance and recalibrations. And that's the fun part for us, because we get to keep in touch with all of our clients. We are definitely not transactional. We are relational.
Yeah, well, and I think that's one of the great pieces is when people call up and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. How does that fit in my needs plan?
Mm-hmm. And that's where we go. That sounds like a good idea, or no, you need to leave the car show right now. You do not need that Corvette. Randy, if you're listening, this is you, buddy. I'm talking about you. And I was like, nope, because you got to store it. You got to insure it. All this other stuff. So it's pretty. Take a picture, go home.
One more time, that phone number, 918-890-8311. The website, dimetodiamondsradio.com. Coming up in just a moment, stick with us. Does your retirement portfolio need a spring cleaning? We'll talk about some things that you might uncover. We'll be right back.